Hello, everybody. Hi, Mike.
Hi,
Um,
Lisa. Thank you for having me.
oh, you're welcome. Today, guys, we're here with Mike Volpe again. If you remember, he was here with Bruce Matzkin. Like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the macaroni and cheese cover up,
Right.
and Mike is a freelance journalist, and he's gonna talk to us today about where Megan Fox went wrong.
Okay. Where she
um,
went wrong. And I think you wanted me to just introduce how I became a journalist, a little
yes.
bit about my background. I was working in not real estate, and mortgages in 2008. Uh, it was going great until 2007. And then the market tanked. I was doing like on the side, not even for pay, because there was a lot more free time, like blogging. And I
Right.
wrote a story about Emory University. And the only reason it was interesting to me was my brother at that moment was going to Emory University undergrad. And I rearranged the story. I gave everybody proper credit, but then I put it on this blog that I started. And a guy named Kevin Pritzky reached out to me, and he was a whistleblower at the Emory University Medical School. And what Emory was doing was they contracted with Grady Hospital, which is a very lucrative contract for Emory because Grady is a huge hospital, and it's a huge selling point that if you go to Emory University Medical School, you're going to be trained at Grady. However, they corrupted the relationship by putting a lot of Emory University staff on the board of Grady Hospital. So in negotiations, Grady was never represented, and Grady is a public hospital. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
so they created this corrupt relationship. The other thing they did is because Grady is all poor people. So
Right.
you train at Grady, it's like boot camp for medicine because they come in with everything. They're always coming in. There's all kinds of emergencies, but it's not lucrative for Emory in the sense that most of them don't have any money. It's lucrative that you're getting the fees from the med students. So what the Emory University professors would do is instead of spending all their time at Grady, they would just leave the med students to fend for themselves while
Oh,
they
man.
they went to like some of the more like high end hospitals that Emory also operated, where they could treat patients with lots of money. And Kevin had been
Ah.
he got kicked out of medical school in another corrupt process, and he had quite a story to tell. So I started telling his story, and eventually I started making money, not even off his story. The first story I think that I got paid on, if you Google Kevin Koval iconoclast, you can read about it. It's completely different from most of the stuff I write. But Kevin and I went to high school together, and he became a well-known poet. And it was, you'll see. I talk about high school. I talk about how how we both formed from there, and it's like a profile of him, the poet. And he was becoming a big deal. He's now a really big deal at the time I wrote it, which was in like 2010. I remember he was describing high school to me. I looked at him and I said, "So we could have been friends," because he was one of the popular kids. I was like a loser. And he looks at me and he said, "We can be friends now, though." So, and because you'll read it. He felt as alienated and as isolated as I felt, only I didn't realize it because he was one of the popular kids. But that's how I became a journalist. Um,
Right.
and so it went from there. I did a lot of whistleblowers of a variety of things that they blew the whistle on, a lot of VA abuse. And over time, I met people who were screwed by CPS, family court, and that became more of my focus. And
Right.
um, that's not how I met Megan, but that that was the key element in the most dramatic part of the story of how I know Megan. So you said you were going to give me the floor, and I could do it any which way I want, right?
Go right ahead. You got the floor.
All right, so I'm gonna do this, and I would always say it to Megan, and she didn't understand what I meant. I'm gonna do it Tarantino style. That refers to Quentin Tarantino. Hopefully, I don't have to say who he is. But he liked to do stories out of time order to like throw you in the middle of the story, present a dramatic moment, and you don't know exactly what's happening because you're in the middle. And then over the course of the movie, you figure it all out.
Right, right.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna
Go for it.
right, I'm going to do the same thing. So in 2021, I broke the biggest story of my career, and it centers on a YouTube video. And if you go to YouTube and punch in St. Louis Family Court corruption, you'll find it. It's a video of nearly 40 corrupt guardian ad litem from St. Louis County doing corrupt things. And it was my goal from the beginning to recruit Megan. And that process was a lot easier than I expected. I just tagged her in a tweet, and before I knew it, she called me. And I remember she called me. She goes, "Hey, friend." And we started talking about the video, and she wanted to cover it before I even had a chance to ask her to cover it.
Right.
So my life went every which way, and I developed a bunch of personal, not a bunch, but more than one personal relationship. But in the course of me covering this story, I went to North Carolina actually to meet one woman, and that didn't work out. And I met another woman, a woman whose story I'd already been covering. And this story has a lot of, it seemed like a good idea at the time, and one thing led to another. So everything that happened at the time, it seemed like a good idea at the time, and one thing led to another. But I started living with her, and I was covering her story, which is as unethical as it gets, but I could get away with it because I was working for myself, and I was 100% convinced that she was a domestic violence victim, and the courts were unfairly keeping her daughter from her. And I thought I could ride in as a white knight. And I was completely wrong about that woman, except before I was figured out I was wrong, I got her pregnant. And after the relationship disintegrated, she sent Megan a very nasty email where she accused me of all kinds of bad things, of being physically violent, which
Oh
would
my goodness.
like directly attack the brand that I had built up. And
Right.
At the time, it was very difficult because uh, I wasn't, my ex is so crazy. I wasn't sure if she was pregnant. So I was trying to figure out if she was. And here she's also trying to ruin my professional relationship with Megan. And Megan called me and we talked about it. And she backed me up 100% and said, "I think this is a private matter. I'm erasing this email. You don't have to explain any more to me. And I'm sorry, but I think you're about to become one of your stories." And
Right.
that's
Oh
actually
man.
exactly what happened. And Megan could have felt betrayed because I was covering the story while I was living with her. I didn't tell her. And that was something that she probably should have known.
Right.
Instead of, and if she had felt betrayed and went after, I would have survived, but it would have made a very difficult time, much more difficult than it already was. And she didn't. And that's why I didn't want to cover this story, because I would never not go at something like this, but I thought that she had earned like my deference, and I'm still not completely sure I should be, because despite the way she's acted, she stood up for me when it counted. However,
Right.
she is bent out of shape based on me like throwing in with Bruce, even though I haven't, and until today. And I if you guys go to my YouTube channel at Michael Volpe, the plan was to go on yours yesterday, and
Yeah.
I would have done this interview yesterday and then Bruce's today, but Bruce was already scheduled. But if you go to my YouTube channel, Bruce and I interview with him, the guy named Richard Lutman, and it's an interesting interview. And if you guys are looking for a softball, that's not what it is. We challenged Bruce a lot, but we were fair, and it's a look at it in a completely different way. But I had not talked about the case yet, and here she was acting like I had betrayed her. And so on some level, I was like, well, if she's going to feel that way, I may as well cover the case, because she's already acting like I'm covering the case.
Right.
And so that's like the context. And we have an enormous amount of history. And her and this Hales guy have like 8 months worth of history. And
Is it
she's
really history though? I mean,
with her and me, it is with her and me, but
no, no, yeah, with him, with
I
him.
don't know. But she has decided to not only throw her lot in, but to like to forget or dismiss everything that she has learned about journalistic ethics over time. And the way she's covered this story is nothing like the way she covered the stories when we were working together. It was mostly 2021, early 2022. And by the way, just this morning, I found out that not all of our videos, but she's made most of them private, which is petty. And
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt me as much as it hurts the victims that we talked about. But the first time I met Megan was in 2014, and I was working with a website that's no longer around. It's called Rebel Pundit, but it was not like a huge website, but it did some stuff, some alternative things. It had gained a reputation for covering stories that others didn't want to cover. And Megan, I think she was already working as a journalist, but she had found out, and I think it's Orland Park, which is on the like south suburbs of Chicago, but it was her local library, and she was living in a suburb of Chicago. Her local library had not done the filter on these computers, and the computers were allowing porn in an area where kids were congregating. And I believe, I'm not even wrong about this part, I think she discovered it because her kids like walked past one or both of the computers. And so like scummy men go to the library to watch porn in an area where kids congregate. And she busted the library and they went at her hard. And so she asked for more coverage. And through Rebel Pundit, I don't remember how many stories. I think it was more than one. I'm not like her savior on it, but I helped. But
Yeah.
I believe
I just read that whole that case and everything,
Mhm,
and it's similar to what you're saying, but like the details
mhm.
are like they wouldn't let her go on the children's computer, so she had to go upstairs to where the adult was, where her kids weren't allowed to go, and she saw something on the screen that she thought was porn, and the guy who actually, I guess they saw whatever, he said he was looking at medical stuff.
Right.
So
They may have covered it up.
yeah, I
They
don't know.
100% they allowed porn in an area where kids were around. They
Right,
I know the spin. They gave all
right,
kinds of spin. It would not have turned into the story that it did if it was a misunderstanding. I can assure you. And I know they turned it into that. But no, she busted them and they went after, and they wouldn't have gone after her as hard as they did if it was a misunderstanding. And
right,
she eventually moved from Chicago to near Rochester. And I don't know exactly where she lives. She doesn't say, but it's in the
right,
Rochester area. So from that point forward, we stayed in touch. We'd, I don't know if collaborate's the right word, but we would try to pass like tips onto each other. And if I had a story that I really wanted coverage, I would I would talk to her and vice versa. And she interviewed me. I did a book. She interviewed me. We'd do some interviews. And at the time, uh, she called YouTube like coffee money because at the time she was getting like 400 views and she wasn't doing it regularly. I
right,
don't know when she started working with PJ Media, but she's been there a while. And so PJ Media, from my understanding, was the main source of income. And then YouTube was something on the side that she saw from time to time. So she is a conservative. So she does the traditional conservative stories about immigration, other things. She does some commentary. She does commentary on parenting because she's a parent. But she also does a lot of investigative stories. And the one thing that she did that was, I guess, unusual is she covered child protective services, family court, and other courts, not like the Supreme Court most journalists will cover. But if you come to them, like with Mac Daddy's story, they don't like those most journalists.
right.
And she was somewhat unique And I am unique in that. And so we did some work over time on that. And 2019 was my best year until 2021. And I had done this story about a bunch of Arizona CPS cases that blew up. And a Twitter account reached out to me and said, contact these like 10 people. And one of them was Megan. So I contacted Megan, though we already knew each other, and I explained to her why I was contacting her. But we sort of not even restarted our relationship, but like we did a fair amount of work together in 2019. 2020, ironically, was the worst year professionally for me, and I don't know if it was COVID related. I'll never know. I had a bunch of amazing stories that would get approved by several different outlets, and then after I wrote them, they would deny them for all sorts of marginal reasons. And now most of them are behind a paywall at my Substack, which is michaelvolpe.substack.com. Because I actually, one reason why I started the Substack was because I was sitting on like 9 great stories. And I thought I can just put all of those behind the paywall, and maybe that'll be like a good way to get it started. And so she and I talked throughout 2020. I remember she called me after the election and we talked about that. And she was doing a podcast called The Fringe. And she interviewed me about the election. And so we were talking, and around that time is when I got this video. And this video is amazing. And it goes 46 minutes. So people probably don't have 46 minutes. But the way I describe it is, imagine like an anthropologist wants to know how corrupt people are when they think no one is watching them. And that's the video. These are all corrupt people who think that they are in private, and they don't realize that one of them, and I don't know who it is because my source didn't record it, but somebody recorded them surreptitiously, and they did all kinds of things. They were trying to hide a payment for it was an illicit payment, because what they were trying to do was dox a journalist. They talk about all of these ex parte communications that they have with judges. They gossip about cases. They show contempt for the parents that they interact with, for the kids. They're all about the money. They're constantly talking about money. And that video busted them like no video's ever busted them. And so initially Megan said, I'm going to do a story on the video. And then she said, no, this needs to be more than one story. I'm going to do 2. And then all of a sudden she goes, okay, I think this is a series. And before I knew it, she's covering like Missouri courts alongside me. And then like a couple months in, she calls me and says, we're going to St. Louis. We're going to do a press conference. And so we do a press conference. And at the press conference, they had every one of the local TV stations, the camera guy, not the reporters though. And I saw that and I was like, that's it. We got it. Because now they're at least, even if all of them don't cover it, a couple will cover it. We're going to penetrate locally. And once we penetrate locally, this thing's going to explode locally. And from there, we can take it national. And all 4 were there and none of them covered it. And one of them talked a story about snakes. And Megan has a great article about the stories they did cover in place of any coverage of this press conference. And locally, we never got quite enough coverage. That we did get some. KMOV, which is a local TV station, did a news story on it. She appeared with a guy named Nick Reed, who wasn't even in St. Louis. He was kind of close a bunch of times, and he interviewed other people. He did good work on it. The St. Louis Record is probably the biggest one. That's the local like legal journal, and they did a lot. And a few other places, but St. Louis Post-Dispatch, none of the other 3 TV stations. The local radio stations, one guy interviewed her once, and then he also interviewed a guy named Ken Rosa, who was a male victim, and that's it. And so that's where it needed to really penetrate, because we have a national audience. And so we didn't completely get the kind of local penetration necessary to just completely explode it. But a judge resigned, several bills were proposed, none of them passed, because they're very afraid to take on judges. And over the course of that year, we had at least 100 judges who recused themselves. One judge who filed for divorce as a result of my case. I caused a miscarriage. Megan helped to get a mistrial. Megan helped to get a guy sentenced, not even fairly, but he I don't know how much sentence he would have gotten. Chuck Haynes, if you Google her and him, that's the best work she did on that entire case. He was a convicted rapist, and they were trying desperately to make sure he had access to the one child he still had left who was under 18. And her work made sure that didn't happen. And she broke a lot of stories on that. But she was.
Is that the 10-year-old girl that she did a?
I don't know. That's coming
Okay.
up. That's a different
Okay.
story that's coming
Okay.
up.
Okay.
She would complain from time to time that doing this hurt her income. And I didn't, it's not my place to figure out how much money she's making. Because I remember one of our friends set us up with this project. We were getting paid $1,800 a week. She was like, finally, at least some money's coming in. And I was like, well, $1,800, if you can add two, you're at 2,000. That's over $100,000 a year. And, but that only lasted like a week and a half. And so by early 2022, she abruptly stopped, and she was sick of it. And, family court people will make you sick of it. There are a lot of, I won't trash them, but there are a lot of things. It's thankless, and it is a lot more difficult than other ways to make money. And so she decided to do other things. And the first thing I noticed that she was doing was she was one of many people covering the Johnny Depp trial with Amber Heard. And so she was covering that daily. And around this time, so the story that you mentioned, so during the abortion debate, there was, I think, an Ohio doctor who claimed that a 10-year-old rape victim came to them, and because of the new law, this girl couldn't get an abortion. I think that was the story. And so Megan started speculating that the story was made up. Now, she did definitely speculate, but I don't know what else you can do. But the reason that she continued to speculate, if not even to speculate from the beginning, is because she reached out to everyone she could who was in a position to confirm if this story was true, and none of them would respond to her. And so that's why she speculated. So, she was wrong. That story,
absolutely,
she was wrong. But I may have made this, I don't know. But it's easy to be wrong when you have a thesis and everyone you ask refuses to counter the thesis. They set her up. She's asking them, is this real? And they won't say it's real, even though they know it's real. They let her speculate. So she took a little bit of a hit for that. But is it a big? I don't think it's that big a deal. She got it wrong. Everyone gets it wrong. Bob Woodward was taken in by a fabulist. I mean, you can look it up. It's a part of his resume. It absolutely happened. And he's Bob Woodward. If you think you can't get fooled, you can get fooled. I got fooled by the mother of my son. I was 100% convinced she was a domestic violence victim. And no, she's the perpetrator. And I know she's the perpetrator because she perpetrated domestic violence against me. So, I got fooled. Okay, Megan got fooled. But I don't think that's that big a deal. And
I think we all do in some respect. You know what I mean?
Right.
But to me, she's the speculation queen. I mean, she just runs off speculating stuff constantly.
Right. In this case, but she didn't do it with me. I don't remember her speculating very much. And so during the Depp trial, she met a guy named Nick Rekieta. Now, I don't know if he introduced her to everyone else she knows, or she met him through separate, just on her own, but she should view Rekieta as a cautionary tale. So this guy was a huge YouTuber, but basically like an overnight sensation. And he was like a non-practicing lawyer who started this YouTube channel that was microscopic until the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. And he offered legal analysis and it grew pretty big. And then the Depp trial happened and it really grew. And he was doing like 4 or 5 hour live streams that were getting like 800,000 views. And he invited her on, and then they became buddies. And I'm sure her YouTube channel grew. But she did, I think, cut him off at some point. But he was drinking throughout the streams and probably doing drugs. And eventually he was busted. And when I say busted, the cops busted down his door and found a bunch of drugs with his kids in the house. And he
Oh my God.
may or may not do jail time, but he doesn't have an audience anymore. And so, like, going in with these YouTubers because they got a big audience, it's not what you think it is.
Right.
They come and go, and if they're making you do things, and they're making you do things that you know are unethical, it's going to bite you at some point.
Yeah.
So she also covered. I don't remember the guy's name. He was on The Bachelor, and he was accused. The woman's name is Laura Owens. She accused him of, I think, rape or not committing to a child that wound up not existing, which is something I.
Oh my God.
So she did great work on that, including finding another victim. Owens is serial in lying about having kids or something. She interviewed the guy, and they busted Owens, and she's made a big deal out of it. Bruce reached out to the lawyer for Owens. She's like, "Oh my God, they're all teaming up." Well, Bruce and this lawyer aren't the same. Bruce reached out to him. That doesn't mean they're teaming up. So when I started my podcast, my new one with Rick Lutman, I sort of modeled it after the way we did it with Megan, but somewhat differently. And it's obviously a different dynamic with Rick and I.
Right.
And, but she was the first guest we had on. Now, and then she covered Karen Reed. So we primarily talked about Karen Reed and then that other story. And then she jumped in. And, by the way, I'm getting into this other one. I don't know if you guys know this guy, Jeremy Hales. I knew nothing. Right. And so she's explaining it. And at the time, it was all about this biased judge. And that was her entrance in. But the biased judge has disappeared months and months ago. So
right.
all of the coverage, I believe most people who have covered this story agree that the judge was biased. So it's a good thing that he was removed. But everything after that, she has basically been a PR person for Hales.
Yeah.
And, it's not anything like the kind of coverage she has provided to many other stories. That Orland Park story, it's nothing like this. She didn't do any PR. She asked questions. She interviewed one who would do an interview. Look, Bruce has asked, I don't know if beg is a good word, but he's asked her many times to put him on the air and let's talk about this. And she
right.
She would never, oh God, if we could get one of the lawyers who we thought was corrupt to do a 20-minute interview with us, we're on.
I don't understand why she wouldn't do that. She immediately went against him and like, you're harassing me. And I mean, if you look at the emails or, the letter rather that he sent to her, there's what's the harassment? I mean,
a journalist, there is no harassment for a journalist from someone who's a source of information.
Right.
If that source
exactly.
of information is giving you information, that's not harassment. So every time Bruce contacts her, he gives her information. So it's, to say it's harassment is absurd. That's one. Two is my understanding when he sends her an email, almost always she reads it. So is it harassment or are you using it for content? So
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, she does that too.
this what she's doing is a whole new style where she is feeding off of a popular YouTube channel and generating content where he's basically leading and she's following.
Uh-huh.
And under no circumstances can she ever say anything negative about him.
Right.
And that's certainly,
Although she claims if there was something negative that she would.
yeah,
Like they
well,
don't agree on
there's
everything.
260 pages worth of a deposition that are negative. So
Yep.
yeah, no, Megan, if you read that deposition and concluded anything but that this is a bogus, non-meritorious lawsuit, and look, maybe because she hasn't gone through it, she doesn't understand. But I've been sued twice with bogus, frivolous lawsuits. There was an 8-year period where for a year and a half, it was the same guy. For a year and a half, he didn't sue me. Out of 8 years, when I woke up, there was a year and a half when I woke up and I wasn't being sued by this guy. Maybe she hasn't gone through a frivolous lawsuit, so she doesn't appreciate just how disgusting and despicable it is. This guy filed a lawsuit to create content. There's nothing meritorious about it. And look, I
Right.
interviewed Bruce. He made a great point. Even if Cook and Preston, even if they made those signs, there's no damages because no one saw him. You can't show that anyone saw him, and you're not hurt by him. And your entire business is off of YouTube anyway. So the whole reason for the lawsuit is entirely bogus. And then everything after that. And she's saying, if there was, yeah, no, this guy is perfect. If there was, listen, here's something Megan could cover. They both live in Florida. How come he took out a protective order in Ohio? That's called forum shopping. Oh, that's something I know something about. Next week, I got to be in Virginia because the mother of my child filed a protective order there. Does that sound familiar, Megan? Yeah, because she forum shops in the same way. It's misuse of the court. He went to Ohio because he couldn't get one in Florida, and he saw a judge in Ohio, and that's something you point out. So there's plenty of negative things she could say about him.
Well, she actually vetted her buddy. She'll find out that he's had issues with almost everybody he comes in contact with. When he first got there, he had an issue and started, content about the neighbors at which he actually bought the property from. And that was on one side of him. Then he started with the people on the other side of him. Then he went after the town of Otter Creek. But even before that, he had an issue with a woman named Marilyn Raby. Who,
also, this isn't the first lawsuit that he's involved in. He's litigious. So she doesn't point out any of these things. And when that deposition dropped, she just did like a funny reading of it, like making fun of people. This guy never answered any questions. He'd either be non-responsive, a legal term, or argumentative, another legal term. That's the two things he was doing throughout. And so she can't find anything negative. Well,
not to mention that he's the plaintiff in the case. Like, why wouldn't she even spot that out and say, dude, you need to what are you doing? You need to show cause. You need to prove that. Why aren't you able to answer these questions? Why are you avoiding it? You're the plaintiff.
If the point is to dig to the story to get at the core, that's what she would do.
Right.
If the point is to feed off this guy so you can have an endless stream of content, then you wouldn't do that.
Right.
Bruce also said this, that courts are drama. Everything that happens is a dramatic event. And so this is like an ongoing reality TV series that his clients didn't ask to be a part of, that he has hoisted upon them. And she point that out. When we worked together, we stood up for people who were being trampled by the courts by powerful X's or powerful forces that had more money and more resources against them. And we provided them a voice. All right. Yeah. In this particular dynamic, who is that? Is that is that Jeremy Hales and his 726,000 followers, or is that Lynette, Preston, and John Cook? I mean, come
Right.
on. Who would you stand up for? So she's standing up for the bully. She is the bully. And as I said, it's completely different.
Yeah, she's definitely turned into the bully. I mean, she's
Right.
mocking them like crazy, and now she's going after me. I really don't care, but
Right.
she's like
Well,
speculating left and right. I mean, left and right with everything. And she's like, "What? Oh, I have public records." And I'm like, "Look, you may have the public records, but as you're talking about it, you're lying about the story. You're lying about those records. You're lying about everything you're saying. You're speculating this whole big, like, non-reality thing that's gone on, you know?"
right.
And that's where she falls in line, defaming people and stuff. I mean, look, the one thing Jeremy used to do was he used to tell people he'll teach them how to run a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you he did the same with her,
Right.
you know? And so she's kind of following his lead, and it's working for her, right? Everybody loves drama.
Right, I
Right?
know. Well, it worked for Nick Rekieta and for the YouTube channel people that followed him as well, and that blew up.
Yeah.
People like this isn't like you built an audience through a TV show. People who build YouTube, it depends on how it's done, but he built it primarily on misdirection. That doesn't last. At some
Yeah.
point, people figure out that you're a fraud. And look,
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of his content, but on this, it's all fraudulent. It's bogus.
Yes.
This isn't a real story. It's contrived.
Right. And the other thing is, too, at this point, she's gained all the viewers she's going to gain from him. Now she could actually really bet the story.
Right, but then he would stop the streams and he would tell his audience to not follow her. She's bought in. And that's another thing that she would have never done. But look, when we worked together between YouTube and Facebook, we had a couple of videos that got close to 10,000. I thought it would go from 10,000 to 100,000. We'd really have an audience, but it like topped out, and then it got to like 4,000 or 5,000. So can I answer that question after I'm done with this?
Yeah.
So and it was at like 3,000 between the two of them, or 4,000 between the two of them when she quit. Is he paying her? I don't think he is giving her money, but it's the same. If he is promoting her on his channel, how is that any different?
Right.
It's
and feeding her information. He's feeding her stories.
Right. It's either a formal agreement or a wink, wink, nod, nod agreement.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. There is some sort of an agreement that I will tell the story your way and you will keep promoting me. I don't know if he's teaching her how to build a YouTube channel. That's possible, but the promotion is all she needs. If you can get a YouTube channel with 700,000 followers to talk about you repeatedly, that's all you need. So she doesn't need for him to give her 5,000 a month or even 500 a month. He's giving her that with the promotion, and he knows that.
Yeah, he definitely is. There's no doubt about that.
But there is a 180-degree contrast between what she's doing now and what she has always done. What she did when we covered the case, what she did with the Orland Park case, even what she did with Johnny Depp and Laura Owens. Depp, there wasn't that much you could dig on, but Laura Owens, she definitely dug on that story. And look, the old Megan would have done something on Mac Daddy because she would have said, well, this guy, Matzkin, keeps talking about it. Let's find out what he's talking about.
Right.
She hasn't looked at it at all.
Especially regarding a corrupt judge.
Right. And she just demeans it. And I know she demeans it because her fans come to my channel to mock the story and say, yeah, I heard this was nothing and it's less than nothing. And oh my God, I don't know why you're covering this. The Hale story is the important one. And
How is it important? She said the Hale story was national news. I'm like, okay.
well, right, about national news that was contrived. But what the story really is it's a story of how our YouTube culture functions. That
Yeah,
someone could create a lawsuit knowing that the lawsuit would create content, and he'd be willing to pay a lawyer and go through the court case. And by the way, um, only messed up people want to be in court. I've
right,
I've been in court a lot, almost always to cover it or to support someone.
right.
Covering it when I'm supporting someone, that's fun and relaxed. I've been sued. I have had a custody case. Those suck. All right.
Yeah.
It's horrible. The anticipation, all of it. You do not want to be in court. Someone who feeds off of court, that's not good. That is not a good reflection on Jeremy Hales, that he was willing to start a case knowing what all of that meant.
Well, he clearly states that he sues. He doesn't sue to win. He sues to bankrupt.
Right.
You know,
Well, yeah, that's
and to
good.
ruin people's
Oh,
lives. He's said it numerous times.
has
And
she
he
mentioned
is
that? Has she mentioned?
no,
Yeah.
no.
So there's
Nope.
nothing bad.
And anything in the case that is mentioned that's like a good, an approval or an order that grants something for Michelle's side, or they'll say Bruce.
They'll
Um,
spin it. They'll spin it.
yeah, they don't even mention it sometimes.
Right.
They're either spinning it or not mentioning it at all.
Right. So is she covering the case,
No.
or is she
PRing for germ.
right. She's PR. And look, even when
She's
I
on
was
a smear campaign right now.
right, even when I was covering my ex's case, which as I said, is as unethical as it comes, it was never a PR campaign.
Right.
In fact, if you read the story, if you don't know that was my ex, it's not going to read any differently than any other one.
Right.
It's just, I bought into certain things. I didn't do as much digging. The other thing, her ex's lawyer is a little bit of a scumbag lawyer. They all are. All divorce lawyers are. But I reached out to her ex's lawyer, and the information she gave me, she had stuff. If she had given me that, I would have jumped off that story. Like she didn't give me stuff that would have made me realize who I was dealing with, even though she had it.
Right.
Not to blame. Wendy is her name. By the way, Wendy wound up helping me with free legal advice. Not a lot, because it was free during my custody case, because she was like, I won't help you a lot, but I want to make sure she doesn't get your son. And can I do one thing really quickly? I started a fundraiser. I sent it to you through the contacts. Can you put it into the chat? If you guys want me to continue to covering this story, I'll do it as long as money is coming in. And it's explained in the fundraiser how I do it. There's a lot more to it than what's been covered. But if you guys want to help me with that, that would be great. But Megan, she's if someone there's a couple of things. I wish I could remember the exact meme, but it floats around on both Twitter, Facebook, and other social media. And the meme says something like this: anyone who tells you to make an enemy of someone who hasn't done anything wrong to you, that person is the one who you should be suspicious of, not the person they're trying to make an enemy of.
Right.
And
Right.
Megan basically is upset with me because I do an interview with you, and she really got upset about this guy Milltown. And ironically, he postponed it and never rescheduled, so we never even did an interview with him. But she basically in text messages said, he's my enemy, so he needs to be your enemy. And I'm like, well, Milltown didn't do anything bad to me, so why should he be my enemy? And it's the same with you. Like, why should I hate you? You haven't done anything wrong to me. Uh,
Right.
so she, she, I won't give, I don't remember exactly, but she basically gave me an ultimatum. It's either this guy or our friendship is over. And I was like, well, what is that? You don't tell me whose show I should go on. And I thought about it. I, the only, I don't know if anyone's ever been put in this position, but the case I've covered the most is the Rucky case. It's Sandra Bazzini Rucky and David Rucky, and it's easily the most notorious custody case, probably in world history, but in American history. And the media deliberately got it wrong, and they painted Sam, as what she goes by, as this vindictive woman who was trying to poison her kids against her poor ex-husband, and he's a violent man. And when I say violent, like he ripped an organ leg off an organ and choked her, choked his daughter, put a gun to his son's head. The list of violent things that this guy has done to his family, to others. He beat up a guy because the guy flicked him off. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And so there's a guy named Michael Broadcorp who I believe is being paid by David Rucky, but I can't prove it. But I believe he is. And I guess that would be the equivalent. Like if Megan wanted to betray me, she would do an interview with Michael Broadcorp. So would I be upset? I might be, but it depends on how she did the interview. I wouldn't, if she said, I know what I'm doing, I'd say, okay. But she knows the story. She knows what happened in the Rucky case. So if she did an interview and just went along with, well, David Rucky is innocent and there's no evidence of abuse, that would be different. But she got upset with me simply for me. And both Milltown and you, we were going to talk about the MACTA, and that's what I said to her. I was like, I don't know why you're upset. What do you care?
It's supposed to be about macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, you don't even want to cover the story. And look, the reason she's upset is because she's told her audience that Bruce is an idiot and he's just making a mountain out of molehill without looking at it. And so if it's covered and enough people find out what happened, then that threatens her credibility. But whose fault is that? She had every opportunity to look into it and to either say nothing or to be honest about it. And she decided to say it's bogus without looking into it. So that's not my fault. And I'm not only allowed to cover stories, but I don't know why she's surprised that I covered that one. That's absolutely in my wheelhouse.
I was about to say it's right up your alley. I mean, and it's surprising based on, what I'm learning that she didn't do that.
Right. Well, because again, if you're creating a narrative that Bruce Matzkin is a scumbag, idiot, then it
goes against it.
Right. You can't. How will you cover that? He was trying his hardest to get it right against like a judge who acted like she was bought off. I don't know if she was, but she certainly acted like it. And so it would paint him more sympathetically. It would make this story more complicated. Well, maybe this guy isn't like the lawyer you are painting him as. So she needed that, but that she was upset with me and she was, I assume she probably was upset that I went on your show, but she was actually upset about me going on this other guy's show, not to even talk about this case, but talk about another case. I wouldn't be upset if Broadcorp doesn't cover any other cases. That's one reason why I think he's bought off, because who makes their living just covering one custody case? That's impossible unless someone's paying you to do it. But that's the example. I don't know. Broadcorp wouldn't interview her, so it's hard for me to imagine how it would happen. I could actually see her doing it now. I could see her reaching out to him just to like spite me now. But that's the one. I don't know how I'd respond. Hopefully, I would say, I don't know what you're doing, but you better tell the truth because you know the truth. No, if she went on and challenged him on everything, I would think that's great. Broadcorp and I did. I remember Broadcorp and I did one show together, and I don't remember what I was saying, but this made me think more that he was being paid, because he goes, well, you know what, Mr. Volpe, I'm tired of having to watch everything you do on this show, read every article you make, listen to every podcast you do on this case. And I thought, you don't have to, if you hate reading my stuff or listening to me, you don't have to unless you do have to, unless like some sort of a contract that requires you to. I was like, if you hate it, why would you do it? And
Exactly.
because I don't, I would, I, you know, he, like the sound of his voice bugs me. So I, and he hasn't done one in a while, but when we were both covering it, I would do the minimum amount necessary for me to be able to cover whatever he was working on.
Right.
So that made me think that that he was being paid for that story, and so she's sort of acting the same way. I wonder if she's required to listen to everybody's podcasts.
Well, I can tell you she doesn't listen to mine.
Right. No,
She-
then she's not. No, then it's different. But I think it's a shame. I think she threw away a reputation she built over a lifetime, and she earned the reputation she has. And I should mention, she also wrote a book about false accusations, which I know a lot about from first and second hand experience. She's won
right.
awards. She's done a lot of work. But again, none of that created the kind of revenue stream that what the Hales could create.
Yeah, if you look at her views went from like 7,000 to 100,000. There's a big difference in that, especially
Right.
being
And
monetized. So
right,
yeah, it's
when
a
you're trying
big
to
difference.
make money, 100,000 makes you a lot. 7,000 makes you very little.
Right.
Um,
Plus all the breadsticks that she requires
right.
to
Yeah.
do
And
things.
I don't know if the umbrella guy she met through Hales or how she met him, but that guy has like 250,000 followers. So by
Oh,
doing
Tug? Yeah, here's another one. Yeah.
right, by doing this, has she's in with several YouTubers who all have huge followings. So it helps her monetization. I don't think it helps her career. It may help her career in the short run, but it's only a matter of time. And I'd say again, Nick Rekieta, you should really think hard about what happened with that guy. This falls apart, and then your reputation is completely obliterated.
Yeah.
And you're the person who did PR for a powerful YouTuber picking on a poor couple. Who wants to
Yeah.
listen to anything that
And
you
a
say?
child. I mean, she's like last week she came up with some story
And
and
tell
oh,
me if this is true. She has gone on broadcast to say that she wants CPS to take that child.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that scum.
She's made up a story
Right.
about how
Both
the
of
child
us,
isn't even sick.
both of us have agreed that even in cases of real abuse, 9 times out of 10, that child is still better with the abuser than in the system. So for her to encourage CPS to take that child, knowing what CPS is like, knowing what happens to a child who goes into the system, for her to sacrifice that little girl for her own content, it doesn't get any worse than that. No
That to
one
me is just
should
insane.
ever advocate for putting a child into the system. Being in foster care is the worst thing that can happen. There is nothing worse. Even an abusive situation, even if you believe it's an abusive situation, it's almost always still better than having that child in foster care.
Yeah, she was saying this source she has, which we all know who it is. Um, it was saying that the child wasn't sick, and meanwhile, like she doesn't have a feeding tube. Jeremy's saying that she doesn't need one. Like they don't know this child at all. I can tell you because we've done a lot with the family as far as Christmas and
Right.
putting up the privacy fence to keep germ away.
Mhm.
This child does in fact have health issues. She does in fact have a feeding tube. And I've also shown proof because they wanted me to show, to
Wait,
show the
so
proof from the doctor.
is she suggesting that Lynette has Munchausen?
Oh yeah,
All right. So when we did CPS
Mm-hmm.
coverage, we found it doesn't get any it does not. There is nothing worse than what she's doing here. She did a ton of coverage of how often CPS falsely labels people with Munchausen.
Oh my
And it's
God.
always the woman. So she is using the experience that she has to try to
Yep.
falsely and she's a huge fan of Sean McMillan, who won millions of dollars for a woman falsely accused of Munchausen, and he did, I guess you can call it a legendary deposition of a CPS bureaucrat where he went through it, and by the end of it, basically the bureaucrat was forced to admit that in order to properly diagnose Munchausen, you have to eliminate every other possibility. And obviously, that's almost impossible to do. So you can almost never properly diagnose Munchausen. So here she is speculating about
Yeah.
Munchausen when she knows how difficult Munchausen is to properly diagnose, one, and she knows that CPS falsely labels women with Munchausen too. And she covered, and I'm not going to remember the woman's name, but she was out of Colorado and she was falsely accused of having Munchausen. And she not only covered her CPS case, but she covered her trial. So she has a lot of experience with this. And now she's the aggressor.
Oh
And
yeah, and not only that, like with all these accusations between what Jeremy's done and everything, there's been a total of 28 CPS calls to the property of Michelle and John, and they're all unfounded.
yeah,
Every one of them
right,
unfounded.
yeah.
They've accused them of crazy things and totally, completely unfounded, and she's still running with this crap. Then
Right.
she's trying
Well,
to
so what
say,
she's saying is that CPS is corrupt. They just refuse
"Oh,
to.
yep, that's how they're choosing."
Right,
Yeah,
right. And of course, she knows that that's not how it works. That CPS, if anything, will take every opportunity to take a child. So
yep,
the way it would work if they were corrupt is they would find something when something is not there, not ignore something when it is there.
right.
So she knows all of this stuff, and she willfully ignores it. She's absolutely running, and I wish I could remember Cindy Absuk, ABCIG. She was falsely accused of Munchausen by CPS. Megan covered her case. They charged her with medical abuse. Even she covered her criminal case. That's how much experience she has. She's done a lot on this. We both covered a woman named Melissa Deagle. Same thing. Um, she knows that CPS does this, and she is speculating that the woman has Munchausen. And
Yep.
she's talked to Sean a bunch of times. She knows how rare Munchausen is. She knows how often CPS falsely accuses people of Munchausen. They come, it's like their go-to. So she knows all of these things, and she just willfully is doing this. That is
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Anybody who advocates for bringing someone CPS into someone's life, that is a bad person.
Yeah.
Do not want CPS in your life. I was more afraid of CPS showing up regarding my son on a false call, because that's what my ex would do, than the cops. I wasn't
Right.
afraid of the cops at all, because the cops, they wouldn't want to make their career off of this. They would be here, they'd do their job, and they'd leave. CPS is who would use the entry in, bogus or not, to try to take him.
Right.
So for her to advocate for CPS to take that child, horrible. And for her to
And she,
suggest Munchausen, the worst.
yeah, she's just coming up with like, and the people like she's using as sources are people that are not like they're not friends with them anymore. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
Well, so
uh
does she say who the sources are, or she says according?
No,
Oh, so it's
no, she.
all anonymous
Uh-huh.
sources. So
Yeah.
look, she and I have both used anonymous sources, but I rarely use it. I rarely feel a need for it.
Uh-huh.
She didn't use it very often when we were working together. She's constantly the thing about anonymous, you don't know if they exist. She's like, well,
Exactly.
sources told me this. Sources, well, sources. What does that mean? Uh,
Yeah. Who are they? You know, like
right.
who is this person? You
Right.
know.
You don't know. You could have made the source could be your butt. And
Yeah.
often it is. So sources, that doesn't mean anything. So that's probably the worst thing that she's done on this case. If she's advocating that Lynette has Munchausen, it's impossible to properly diagnose Munchausen, because even if the parent falsely believes that someone is sick, there's a difference between someone who is determined for attention to convince people their child is sick, and someone who believes their child is sick when they're not.
Right.
Munchausen is the first, but it's very hard to determine if it's the first or the second, even if you can determine that there is no illness. And
Exactly.
you're saying there is an illness. And how would she know? How would she know if that child is ill?
She doesn't.
Right. Is she talking to doctors? Because they'd be violating HIPAA. Who is she
Exactly.
talking to? And look, she would not have good sources. She wouldn't. That's not how this works. No one who knows Lynette and John well would be talking to her. All right.
Exactly.
No one who is friends with them would trust her. So she wouldn't have good sources. So she, yeah. And if you're telling me she's saying she has Munchausen, that is the worst thing you can do.
She said it. Jeremy said it.
Yeah. And look, and we would constantly point out how often non-medical people were making this diagnosis. So here she is diagnosing. She's not qualified to diagnose. Why is she diagnosing?
Not at all.
Yeah, just to.
No, she is not, AG.
This is all to create drama. None of it is factual. It's very, very sad. Does your audience have any questions or any comments they wanted to add?
Well, I just saw one. AG had asked if she's ever interviewed the Pickles family directly, and the answer would be no.
Right.
Is there any other questions? I might have missed you.
She's been offered, the Pickles family. You're talking about
yes.
John but their lawyer has offered to come on her show to do an interview. He even asked me, said, maybe you can moderate. I would moderate. She has an opportunity to interview their lawyer, and she won't. Never would she have done that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago. If a lawyer offered to do an interview, she would do it.
Yeah, and that's exactly how Bruce approached her. You know, Bruce was trying to get the true story, because that's how he approached me. Mm-hmm. You know, he saw that I was looking for answers in the case. I mean, I don't like Jeremy for other reasons, because I know what he's done to friends of mine and things like that. So I already had a thing, but we were asking for the truth. I asked whatever it is, doesn't matter whose side it is, send me whatever you got, because I was trying to put the puzzle pieces together. You know, and he saw that, so he emailed me, and you know, it was like, do you want to show more of this side, you know? And I said, well, yeah, I want the truth, you know what I mean? So so I started learning more about what's been going on with Michelle versus what Jeremy's saying. So I was seeing the two sides, you know. I stopped watching him a while ago, so I had like, well, who is he taking to court now? That's kind of how I saw who Michelle was, because I saw him in a court case. So,
so Hales is litigious.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah.
Megan hasn't. If I could find something negative about him, right? He sues a lot of people. You didn't want to mention that, Megan, and that's something she would. And the example is that woman Laura Owens. She found that pattern. That she falsely claims that she's pregnant. That's the pattern she found. And if this guy's litigious, that's the pattern. All of this she would have done. It's like
Paloma.
It's almost like this guy represents the devil. It's like he like,
oh my God, you have no idea.
In like this is what you get. All you got to do is sell your soul to me. And I can't
And he uses God and Jesus
Right. Well,
in everything he does.
yeah.
You
So
know.
did Jim Jones.
Yeah.
So do a
That's
lot of.
why we actually talked about that.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of false prophets who do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Who,
it's really sad, and as far as like the doctor, stuff, I mean, he literally got on there, like I said, and he said, I don't believe she needs a feeding tube. And it's like, what? Now, first
right,
off, what doctor is going to put a feeding tube in a child that doesn't need one?
right. That's
She was
basically
born with this disorder. And then
right.
she also has some other things wrong. So,
Right.
or,
Well,
health
the
issues. So,
Melissa Deagle case, Diegel, Melissa Deagle is out of Arizona. It was the same kind of thing where CPS claimed that the girls didn't need feeding tubes, they didn't need this, they didn't need that, and it was ridiculous. Like, are you saying that Melissa, their mom, fooled all the doctors? It was Phoenix Children's Hospital. She fooled them. The doctors were just somehow this happened. Come on. Obviously, they needed the feeding tubes. The doctors know what they're doing. Look, how would Jeremy know if she needs the feeding tube? What does he know about this girl? It doesn't. It looks like the truth is incidental. That the key, and he may have told her this. YouTube is all about creating drama. You have to create drama. Just create drama wherever you can. That's what this sounds like, that they are just creating drama, which is all good and well, except that they have dragged Lynette and John into their little world without their permission, without their approval, and they have turned their lives into a spectacle. And they're not telling the truth about their lives, and they don't care. None of them.
And it's ruining their lives. It's ruining their livelihood.
Yeah, and they're pawns. Okay, you're all little people. You can't stop us. You don't have that much money. You don't have a lawyer. And look, that I don't think that Hales expected them to find a lawyer. So now he's got another wrench. Because without a lawyer, there probably wouldn't have been a deposition. He would have run all over.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, he's got videos of him stating that they're not going to be able to get a lawyer. Retainer is going to cost this much money and blah. I mean, you can clearly see that's exactly what he thought was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And now it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. Then he's threatened to sue you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm on the smear campaign now. Now it's about smearing me and my husband that has nothing to do with my channel. But, it's a whole big smear thing, and they're speculating a whole bunch of stuff, defaming us and everything now. And it's like, go ahead, do what you got to do. I know how this works.
Right. He's considered a public figure. It's almost impossible for him to win a lawsuit. So that's another thing. The guy who sued me is a public figure. That's one reason why it was a frivolous lawsuit. Almost, this is what Trump constantly complains about, because obviously he's a public figure. They say lies about me and I can't sue. It's impossible for me to sue. The thing, the logic behind it is, why do you need to sue? You have a YouTube channel. If someone smears you, go on YouTube on your own channel and correct the record. How are you hurt? And that's what he's been doing. He uses this for content. He doesn't need to sue. He's created content through the lawsuit. And look, if I'm wrong, and this is the thing, if Megan was on the level, she could have called me anytime and said, look, here's the deal. And she didn't. She just sent me a couple of nasty text messages and cut off contact. And that was it. If she was confident in her case, she could have explained it to me in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I would have given her as much time as she wanted. She didn't want to do that. She wanted to try to bully me the way that they're bullying Preston and Cook. And that's unfortunate. That's too bad. But the story hasn't ended. That's what I mean. These guys, they can be a flash in the pan. The truth is coming out. Yeah, you have a bigger audience. Yeah, between you, Megan, and Tug, a lot more people hear your side for now.
Right, exactly. For now.
It's not forever. And the truth will come out. And then what are you going to tell people?
Yeah.
That you decided to to support this powerful YouTuber because it helped you grow your YouTube channel, and in the process, you bullied a couple that didn't have the resources to fight back. Well,
Right.
who's going to
That's
watch
exactly what's going on.
Right. Well, who's going to watch you then?
Yeah.
That's the truth. At some point, people will see that, and then your audience is going to be your mom, your husband, and your kids, and
Right.
nobody else is going to watch you, and you're going to have no reputation. And was it worth it? Because she has sacrificed the reputation she built up. One other thing, I think this is one reason why she got into it. She didn't have carpal tunnel, but she had something like that where she could no longer type. And that was one reason why she did YouTube, because she couldn't do a lot of PJ Media stuff. So that may have been one reason why she started to focus on YouTube. Because I don't remember what she had, but she had something that messed with her hands and she couldn't type anymore. And so that might be one reason why she got into all of this stuff. But Megan, that is. But this is, I've said it too many times. It's so different in the way she was. I wasn't mad initially. I get more and more mad every day. Like today when I found out that she made all the videos private. Because I wanted to watch one of them. I wanted to see how we were together. And I'm like, it's private? Is she kidding? She actually did that? Like, how petty is that? She blocked me on Twitter. How petty is that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, she completely cut ties with you because you did the interview with Bruce on the mac and cheese cover-up.
Correct.
Because you had any involvement with Bruce whatsoever.
Right. And as I said, I don't remember the meme, but yeah, if someone says my enemy has to be your enemy, they're the ones who are wrong. Don't make an enemy of someone who's done nothing wrong to you.
Right.
So you've treated me great. The Milltown guy, canceled last minute, but whatever. He's fine. If he wants to have me on, I'll come on. But why would I make an enemy of you because Megan's your enemy? And that's basically how she framed it. She's like, why are you interviewing Bruce? He's my enemy. And I'm like, well, because I'm working on a story that you don't even want to cover. What do you care?
So not only was it Bruce, she was getting mad that you were going to do it on Super Dave on Milltown's channel too. Yeah. So it's like, it's everybody on this side is her enemy, And
right.
Meanwhile, I don't believe,
why is
Milltown's not like that.
The first time that she got mad was the first interview with Bruce, whenever that happened. I think that was like August or September. But she got mad. We went back and forth by text message. And I don't know how it ended, but I was like, I'm not removing the interview. I don't know what you want me to do. If you're upset, tough noogies. This is a legitimate story. And then the second time she got mad was when she found out I was going to be on with that guy. And that's when she said, well, this shows me you're not my friend. And I was like, going on a YouTube channel shows you I'm not your friend? Right. Well, right. Because why is he her enemy? Because she has a narrative that where Bruce in her story is the enemy. Bruce is a bad guy in her story. That's why he's her enemy. But that's correct. Right. Look, as far she definitely.
Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah, listen, she may have that may have gone away, but I do remember it was a couple of years ago. There's a period where her hands wouldn't allow her to type, and that's one reason why. And if you go to her PJ Media, she has an article on it. It may have fixed itself. And I'll go on on Milltown, but she basically got cut off contact over nothing. All right, and as I said, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is if she's acting like I'm bad because I'm covering the story, I may as well actually cover the story.
Right.
So, I may as well do it. From my end, this was a contrived lawsuit from the beginning for content, and I think it's like the evidence is like self-explanatory. Go on to what the Hales, like his YouTube page. There's like 100 more videos on this. So he's obviously creating content off of it. And read the deposition. He never answers any meritorious question. It's really I don't know who you are, but I don't know.
It's Bruce's wife. It's Toma. Yeah, they keep saying she's a mail order.
Right.
They keep...
This is the world we live in, that everybody is accusing everybody of using fake accounts.
Yeah.
So it's sort of sad, but I think Megan and I will figure it out at some point when this story is over. But that's all I had. If you got any questions for me, let me know.
Guys, if you have any questions, I mean, you've covered everything. You're really good. That's why I was like, let's take the floor, Mike.
Right. Yeah, no problem.
But so if anybody wants to learn more, so wait, so you're going to really cover what the Hales case now?
I'll cover it if the fundraiser raises money. I'll cover it as long. I'm not going to do it for free. This is one way that I've done it. If people want me to cover it, then they'll put money in, and then once the money stops, then I'll stop covering it. But I'll do it as long as the one that was the most successful was I covered Orange County, California, and I've done almost 70 stories that's raised close to $15,000, and it's over a 4-year period. So it's like the money came in bits and pieces and over time. And I've done a lot in Orange County. So it doesn't have to raise that much, but if anyone puts any money in, I'll do at least one story, and then we can go from there. But yeah, if you can put that into the chat, that would help.
Yeah, it's in the description as well.
Pull them up.
Pull them up.
Right.
There's the link right there. It's also in the description, and how to go and check out Michael's page. It's Michael Volpe.
That's
so Michael, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us and letting us know, your history with Megan. And we can, it's been great, and you are welcome to come on anytime. I love talking with you. It's been fabulous.
Right. I've got a lot. The Rucky story, I'd love to come on. It's sort of different, but if you want to see how the media and the courts manipulate cases and turn the victim into the perpetrator and the perpetrator
absolutely
into the victim, we'll do it. I can't do anything next week because I have to go fight a bogus protective order in a county I've never been to, but sometime after that I'll come back on. We'll do something on the Rucky case. I'll send you some stuff.
Cool. By the way, are you watching the Blake Lively case with the PR the media?
I not religiously, but I've read several articles on it. At this point, I don't know who's telling the truth. They both seem to have compelling evidence for their side. Initially, it looked like this guy, Baldoni, was messing with her, and it didn't seem right. Like, she's more powerful than him. Why would he think he could get away with that? He's presented a lot of evidence that maybe the initial story isn't what you think it is. I think people should have an open mind. Anyone can selectively present evidence to make their side look a certain way. I did a story, Catherine Kasanoff and Alan Kasanoff, and that's sort of what happened in their case. Catherine did assisted suicide in Switzerland, and she said she was dying of cancer. I won't know. I didn't see any kind of like a medical thing, but she released a whole bunch of documents that made it look like Alan was, one, abusive, and two, manipulating the courts. And over time, that story is a lot more complicated than the one that Catherine presented. It's out of New York, where cases are sealed, so the only evidence you can get is from the parties themselves. Alan, I don't think is innocent as well. He's done some bad stuff, but he was painted horribly, lost his job, everything. There's an article in the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's, that does a good job of presenting his side, but it's also his side. But that's what I mean. You can very easily, and that's the thing, be careful in that case. You can very easily, by the evidence you choose to release, present a certain case a certain way, and that's not necessarily the truth. So people should keep an open mind. I don't know who. Maybe they're both perpetrators. Maybe neither is. But
Well,
some
the one thing that's coming out is it's like they're both sides. Their PR campaigns are involved in it. So it's like, okay, is it going to come down to
I
that?
don't think
So that's what's kind of making it more interesting for me. You know,
I don't think that's a surprise with two Hollywood players that the
yeah,
PR people are going to. And yeah, what PR people do is they call their contacts and try to place stories, and place stories meaning they speak with a friendly journalist and say, "I got this for you if you want to do it." That's how they place stories. So
yeah,
what's happening behind the scenes. The PR people are earning their money because morning, day, and night they're calling all their contacts, trying to get stories favorable to their side placed, because it's being fought out in the court of public opinion. But be very open-minded. I don't know who is in the wrong and who is in the right. They both present very compelling cases. There's going to be a lot more evidence that'll come out, but I'm following it. I'm not obsessed with it. I'm following more the Sean Combs case, in part because one of his alleged rape victims reached out to me. And I say alleged because I don't believe that guy actually now was raped by Combs. I'm following that a lot closer.
right.
That's a really interesting story. Combs is just a fascinating guy. He's like the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde personality. That he's both. He's both
Right.
a brilliant entrepreneur, rapper, producer, but he's also a rapist, and how that plays out is amazing. So I'm following that case much more closely. But I'll send you some information. I'd love to come on the Rucky case. That's an amazing story, and I have all kinds of detail and inside info. As part of that case, I got therapist notes from a court-ordered therapist. So it's pretty amazing because you never see therapist notes because you're not supposed to have them.
Right.
So
That is cool.
we'd be able to take a look at what therapists write and how they do their notes. So we can talk about that. We can have that'll be cool. So
yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Okay, I'll reach back out, but thank you for having me on. Hopefully everyone knows Megan's career much better now, and the complexities of the case. And I did have a son, so it was kind of all's well that ends well. I was under not the most perfect circumstances, but I made a lot of mistakes, but my son is not one of them. So with that, I'll go. I think you'll keep going for a few more hours.
No. I'm actually going to be going for a little bit because Robbie from Get Swamp will be going live shortly.
Anytime. You go for as long as you want. All right. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Michael. Bye. Thank you. Have a great day. Wow, guys. How about that? Very interesting information there. How y'all doing? Hello, everybody. I didn't really get to call everybody out and say hello. But wow, thanks to Michael. He's a great guy, and I like how he just gets down to the bottom of things, and he's very real, And so thank you again, Michael. And if you want to go check him out, the link to his site is in the description. Also, the interview that he did with Bruce this morning, which I still have to go see, that's in there as well. And yeah, so wow, fabulous, huh? Great. How you guys doing? Hi, Sally. Hi, Christy. Dreamweaver. Said it a little differently. Wow. I have to say, thanks, Bonita. Hi, Darlene. Hey, Laura. So yeah, so we'll chat for a little bit if y'all want, because Robbie will be going live shortly. He's scheduled for 5:30. So we got 3 minutes. Thanks, Babs. Hey, Lisa, my baby's eating. I'm so excited. I love how she's so clued into like our movements and stuff. Now she sees us and she gets like happy about it. Yes, he did interview Bruce. Actually, he did it this morning. He did an interview with Bruce. So y'all need to go check that out. The link is in the description. Yeah, she is. She's doing awesome. I'm looking, tossed in a couple of dollars. Oh, cool. Thank you, Kyle. Hey, Super Dave. wouldn't be surprised, Dave. It doesn't shock me. Why don't you come on after Robbie, please? Well, Tori will be going live after Robbie. Why is it always about money? Even Mike discussed. I'm pretty sure that they're gonna say something, or Megan's gonna explain something about this because she's gonna have to spin it, like they always do. But I say whatever. You know, what is you can only control what you can control. So you can't control what other people do. So if they lie, we'll come back and expose the lie with proof, like we always do. Thank you, Miyagi. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, guys. Because post Chulies in a Chulies fans. I'm not sure. I don't know what to think about that, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to uh knock the group if it's a fan thing, but I do know that Nikki person is in that uh group. So I really don't know what it's for. I don't know if it's there to like get info, if like to get like all the fans in there and like talk about things that maybe they didn't know, did know, whatever, give them information they may or may not have. I have no idea. Or I don't know if it's just legit, fan group. So I would definitely proceed with caution. Um, I'm definitely not trying to knock it if it is, but I don't know. So we do have our own group. It's been there, but I never did anything. I didn't publish it. I can open it up if you guys really want a Facebook group. I don't do Facebook, but we can open it up and let you guys talk if you want to. I could do that. They will say you're hiring a journal. I don't know. We don't need to hire anything. Any journalist. We're not hiring nothing. You guys, what we put out here on our channel is it's what you get. We're not hiring nobody to do anything really. Just people to help put up barns and what our goals are as far as helping families. Those are the people that we're hiring, if necessary, to basically complete our goals. We need a framework to come and do some framework, or put up some drywall if we don't have enough people volunteering or whatever. That's what we're doing. So that's where the hiring is going to come in. Things like that. We don't need a PR firm. We don't need anybody like that to hire. If people, we're just telling the truth about the story. And if people want to cover it, then that's their choice too. But right now there's a smear campaign to keep it at bay, not to let their story out. So, and that's why they're attacking us. So, but it's fine. We're still going to keep on going. Thank you, Joy. Um, I'll be a journalist. The chat always remembers and never forgets. You guys are awesome. You really are. But I'll open up the Facebook group. I just never did because I don't spend time on it. But I can have one of our mods, work with it if that's something they might want to do. If you're interested in, being an admin over there, we can open it up. Just email me, let me know. Money details, a lot of good attention. Yeah, unfortunately, this whole thing is literally about content to generate money. It's what do you call it? The polymath? Polymath? It's the protraction of litigation, multiplication of proceedings for generating YouTube content to profit from. There you go. Hey, Suzanne, how are you? I'm releasing a video today and it's short. I think I'll go live tomorrow, but don't want to promise anything. Alrighty, Super Dave. Kyle message bearded fisherman. Yeah, it gets Jervis. I'll give what I can do. Awesome. Thank you, Christy. Hey, Kevin. Thanks. Yes, see, I don't really go. Lisa, you complete 2 wishes, you complete fence and the Christmas party. And we're going to complete the barn. Do you think he will sue the Levy County? I think he could. He's already threatened to. And I think that's why when people are asking why it's taken so long, why they're not doing anything, I think what they're doing is they're building a bigger case. And that's when they'll do something. My personal opinion on what I've seen, like from behind the scenes and stuff. I messaged Kendra today. I'm waiting for her to respond. So I haven't talked to her yet today. Yeah, I was surprised. A lot of people are saying that, Silver. Batter, please. Oh, I always forget my batter. Always. Um, yeah, and CPS is documenting everything too. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of surprising that like when you hear Michael say how involved Megan was in you know knowing about CPS and stuff like that, it's really kind of shocking what she's doing. You know, you open the tenant whoop ass. I sent you an email this morning. Okay, hon. Oh no, I saw it. Did you get my message? I responded. Dreamweaver, I responded. Hi, what was I thinking? No, they were even friends. Yeah. All right, guys. Get Swamped just went live. So let's all hop over to Robbie's channel and support him over there. I'm going to do so as well. Tori, I believe, is going to be going live after Robbie is over this evening. I will pop in that chat later on tonight. And I'll be back tomorrow for our normal time, 10 o'clock. 10 p.m. tomorrow, but I'll see you somehow along the way. So run over, check out Get Swamped. I'll be over there in a few minutes. Thanks a lot, guys. I hope you had a good time here this afternoon. And I shall talk to you soon. Ta ta.